What's going on, everybody? Dogman Dan here. We are in Warframe. We're going to talk about this update 18.14 stuff. This is not going to be a straight up overview video as normal. This is basically me sharing my thoughts on the new Dark Split Sword and the new Augments that are out. Both the Dark Split Sword and the Augments have been gifted for the purpose of review. Just so that way you have FYI, full disclosure there. Anyone that is part of the media and that is participant in their first look program, if you will, as a fan channel, has been given these items. Okay, full disclosure out of the way. Let's just get down to it, shall we? I am not impressed with anything. It's that simple. No bullshit, straight up to you. I am not impressed. New augments. It's just more augments. Nothing that actually overly impresses me. Nothing that I would change any of my setups for to go ahead and put in. Someday, they'll go ahead and write the code and add an extra augment mod slot. Then we can actually augment our builds the way that they're supposed to be set up, right? Not hinder our stuff just to add an augment in. No, augment. Meaning we enhance stuff. Augment. I'm just saying. That's why, for the most part, with the exception of one or two of my frames, I pretty much never really run these. Yeah, I have a couple frames that I run one on that I think is pretty cool and it fits, but for 90% of my frames, no, it doesn't. Unless you're talking Loki Prime. Then in which case I've got like 3 on there, and that's a whole different story. But he's all utility based for me anyway, so that's fine with me. Okay, so the new augment mods, right out the door. Put them to the side with everything else until the day the DE decides to get off their asses and put an augment mod slot in there for us to actually enhance our shit and make it work. Okay, now we're done with that. Now we're moving on to the Dark Split Sword. And if you guys have run out of salt, I can give you some more. Okay? Dark Split Sword. I saw this last night. I was at work. I was actually starting work when the update came out. I'm like, oh, okay, pretty cool, right? And I saw, okay, dual sword or heavy sword, dual melee, heavy melee. You can swap between the two as a heavy sword or dual melee, which is basically breaking the dark sword and dark dagger up. Is what it is. So you've now got dark sword, dark dagger in one. You break it in half. Now you got a dual melee. The concept of the two weapons in one, awesome. And that's where it ends. Right there. DE, you have a chance to do something innovative. Make something fucking phenomenal. But what do? You introduce a new weapon. You split it one way or the other. You use the same stance mods that are already in game. Don't even come out with a brand new stance that would work for both sides. I mean, this would be awesome to come up with a split sword stance, I would think, right? I mean, sure, you've got dual stats more or less. So as you got stats for a heavy sword and you got stats for the dual melee. Obviously, the dual melee, you actually, when you put your stances on, you actually lose some status chance and some critical chance and a couple other things compared to the regular form of heavy sword. But the stance mod slot is designed for the dual melee and not for a heavy sword, which makes no sense. So if you're going to play heavy sword with this, you have to go ahead and forma your stance slot off the bat. But like I said, it's nothing special. Here I'm thinking I'm going to get in game. I'm going to be able to swap between heavy sword and dual melee mid-mission. Okay, I'm okay with my stats changing, you know, based off the loadout. But none of that's there. None of it's there. You have your A loadout, you got your B loadout, your C loadout. So you basically set it up. Okay, let's say my A loadout is going to be heavy sword. My B loadout is going to be dual melee. So now before I go on a mission, I have to choose. Do I want to play as a heavy sword or do I want to play as a dual melee? But really nothing is standing out to me because it looks cool. It's all about fucking fashion frame now and not about actual gameplay and mechanics. You have the opportunity sitting in your plate to show us that you can still be innovative. And you drop the ball. I mean, You know, I'm sure lots of people are going to hate me on this, but I'm just being frankly honest with you. There's nothing that makes this weapon stand out any way, shape, or form other than the fashion. Okay, I can run radiation and corrosive. I can do that with the dark dagger. I can do that with the dark sword. I mean, I can do that, no problem. Which is awesome. But I have the opportunity here to play 2 different ways in middle of insane mission, more or less, and it's not there. Instead of always pumping out updates every single week, you know, do something innovative, because you're not keeping your base anymore. You've got people, sure, it's a free-to-play game. People are going to rotate in and out, in and out, in and out. And that's the way it is. But if you can show us after 3 years that you're still able to innovate, you're going to retain people longer. And here, just like, you know, several other weapons that you've recently released, Stradivar, as one example, you could have done something really, really cool. And you still have the opportunity to do it, but I think you've lost a little bit out of it. I mean, I'll go ahead and rank this up, and I'm just going to put it to the side. It's that simple, because you didn't do anything to make it special. You didn't do anything to make it special. How awesome, D, would it be to have redesigned your system enough that you could introduce a dual type weapon like this that you can swap mid-game, even if your stats change, I'm fine with that, to play a different style, to have a crossover stance that works on both sides of the game, both sides of the weapon, whatever you want to call it. But you didn't. And so there it is. My thoughts, impressions, nothing here really stands out in update 18.14. You know, we'll wait till update 19 comes out and get all the fancy new stuff. And yeah, we'll see how innovative it is though on the back end, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You can go ahead and see all these fancy things, new quest, all that gloriousness, the new Warframe, but in the end, is there anything really super innovative about it? We won't know until it comes out. And it is what it is. Alright, I'll catch you guys next time. I've rambled too much. See you soon.